I am so grateful you clicked on this video today and that you stopped by to visit me here in my craft room. Today I'm going to be doing 5 fast and super easy DIYs that look high-end on a very strict budget. I'm going to be using this Milk Jug that I picked up from the Dollar Tree and their Dollar Plus section that was $3. You can find these sometimes at thrift stores, but I love this one because it already had the vinyl work on it. Now we're going to be taking some foam and putting that down in there with some hot glue to secure it into place, and then we're going to be building up the foam, because what we're going to do next, once we've got all this foam in place and nice and tight and snug, we are going to take 2 of these Christmas trees from the Dollar Tree and we are going to turn it into a very high-end looking Christmas tree. Now I know I didn't show this Spanish moss at the very beginning, but I love this stuff and I think it's a great filler, and I think a lot of people have this in their craft room, so I just thought I would share that you don't have to do this option. You could honestly put at the bottom whatever you want to conceal that foam, but I like using a little bit of that moss in there because I just think it adds that pretty Christmas texture in there that you would see at the bottom of a Christmas tree out in nature. Now I'm going to take these 2 trees that are $1 from the Dollar Tree, well, $1.25 now, and I'm going to pop off the bottoms, and we don't need the supports. And what we're going to do is we are going to take these 2 trees and flatten out their branches so that we can zip tie them together. Once we've got it zip tied nice and snug at the bottom, kind of a little bit above the bottom, a couple branches up, I'm going to zip tie that there with a black zip tie. You can also get those at the Dollar Tree. And then I'm going to come up almost all the way to the top of where the rod is inside that the branches are all tied to. Zip tie it there as well so it's nice and snug. Now the reason why I like doubling up these trees is it just overall makes it look a lot thicker, more fuller, more high-end. One tree by itself you could do it, but I just always think it looks kind of skimpy and I don't like it as much. So then I'm going to just work that down into the foam, and you can see how that moss in there really is just concealing the foam so you don't see it, and it just makes it look so beautiful. Then at this point I'm just going to fluff it and it's ready to be displayed in your home for Christmas. This next DIY is so simple. I've actually spent a lot of time in the past building one of these pop-up stands for signs, and this one is just so adorable. It was in the Dollar Plus section. It was $5. I totally think it was worth the money because I have spent about that in the past trying to make it myself. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take this pop-up sign and I'm going to show you how you can switch out the artwork using one of these calendars that they have from the Dollar Tree. I love these calendars because the artwork in it is just so beautiful, and it's really easy to be able to just rip out some artwork, cut it down to size, and then you can change out your image every single month that you want to on your little pop-up sign that you have displayed at an entry table when you're coming into your house, or you can display it in the kitchen if you want to use the backside for a menu. That's what I'm going to be doing with mine for this Christmas season because I'm planning on hosting a couple of parties this year. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking that artwork and I'm just pressing down with my nail along the sides of the sign so that I know about right where I need to cut, then as straight as I can. And keep in mind you could use a paper trimmer, but I'm just going to do mine freehand. And I'm going to cut that straight line, and then you're going to notice that it's going to have a little bit of a space at the bottom. I wanted to conceal that a little bit more. So I'm going to take some red cardstock, pop that down first, and then put on my artwork. Now I'm using double-sided adhesive. I will link all of my tools from this video down below in the description box if you're interested in any of them. I love this adhesive. It's called a tape gun, and it's my favorite because it can have a lot of adhesive at one time. Then I'm simply just going to pop my artwork into place. And I don't like that you can see the nail hole from the calendar, so I've decided I'm going to take it a little step further And I'm going to add a little bow at the top, and that's just going to go right above where that circle is to conceal that hole just a little bit so I don't see that whenever I'm looking at it and using it for parties. So you can see I'm just putting a tiny little dot. I tied a cute, sweet little gingham bow, and I'm just going to pop that right on there. Now I like to always control where my bow tails go, especially when there's wordage on a sign. So I'm going to just cut that down to the size I need to, and then I'm going to take the tiniest dot of hot glue, and I'm just going to put a little tiny dot, and then just press down that tail, and it will keep it in place and will look so perfect for your party. Then on the back side you can add whatever you want to the chalkboard piece, and it's ready to be used. You will see so many of these type of deers on high-end websites. Pottery Barn, even Target. They sell these for anywhere between $15 to $30. They had them at the Dollar Plus section for $5. So I'm going to take some of the picks and frosted glitter stems from the Dollar Tree and a piece of this foam square. And I'm going to cut it down to size so that I can glue it to the base inside of the deer's legs. Now I'm going to use some E6000 because I don't always trust just hot glue by itself. So I'm going to use my little key tool here. I love this tool. I had a subscriber send it to me a while ago where I can basically just twist it and it'll allow me to always keep the pressure in my E6000, and then I'll be able to, get out the amount I need. Put the cap back on, add some hot glue, and pop it into place. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take some of these leaves from one of the picks, and I'm going to kind of build up the base a little bit because I don't want to see this foam. We want to make sure we're covering it with as much greenery as we possibly can. So I'm going to add in first those green leaves, then I'm going to come in with this silver frosty looking pick that looks like twigs, but it has glitter. Then I'm going to add in some frosted berries and some beautiful vibrant red berries. And anytime the berries get in the way, I do kind of pull a little bit off on the end just to make sure I have a nice good imprint into the foam and I can hot glue it into place without them popping out over time. Now this next step is optional. You can put in whatever you want. I am going to be using a pick that I had on hand. It's actually a long garland strand I get from Hobby Lobby whenever they have it on sale for their greenery long garlands. And I'm simply just going to cut off a couple pieces and pop those in because I really love how boxwood looks with Christmas berries and some moss in there. And at this point you can see adding all this extra texture in there really does just bring it to life and makes it look real. I think that's the thing I love most about using faux greenery. When you start blending different types of them together that complement each other, it looks so beautiful and high-end on a strict budget. These cones are such a find. If you can get your hands on them, they're from the Dollar Tree. They're $1.25 for each one in their floral sections. Now I'm going to be using two of them, the larger and smaller, 3 long Garland 15-foot strands that they also have at the Dollar Tree, and then also a berry garland that they have at the Dollar Tree. Now this project is so easy. You're going to take your garland, you're going to unwrap it from its coiled up circle, and you're going to just simply tie the first top piece at the top of your cone, and then you're going to start coiling it down. Now I like to add a little bit of hot glue here and there so I make sure everything stays nice and tight without slipping. And I do have a tip when you're doing this. Don't wrap it so tight that you're going to run out of the length to get all the way to the bottom of your cone, because you want to make sure that you have enough to get all the way to the bottom. And the one strand works perfect on the smaller cone. On the larger cone, I would recommend using 2 strands just because I feel like it gives it a better coverage. You don't want it to look skimpy. I think that's when it starts looking kind of homemade, you know, a DIY fail, as a lot of people like to joke online about, is whenever it starts to look skimpy and you can see holes through it. So I like to use 2 on the larger one and 1 on the smaller one. Now when you get to the bottom, you're just simply going to cut off any extra that you don't need, and then you're just going to wrap it around nice and tight at the bottom and hot glue it into place. Now at this point, it really is up to you what you want to do. You could put some fake snow on it. Now I've decided for myself, because I love that country charm Christmas look where it's traditional green and red. So I'm going to take this berry garland and I'm just going to simply coil it all the way down. And I'm not doing it super tight because I don't want it getting lost in the greenery. I want it to sit lightly at the surface. So I'm just kind of coiling it down like you can see here. And then when I get to the end, I'm just going to tie it into place. Now again, we could stop here. This is really cute. Or we could take it a step further, which I love to do here on my channel. I love to just keep playing with it until it has its own life and its own personality. So I'm going to simply take this bow. This is the easiest bow to make. You're going to zigzag back and forth until you get 4 loops. You'll have 1 in on one side, 1 the other side. You're going to flatten out the ribbon, and then you're going to just simply tie it into a knot. You know, go around the tree through the hole and then pull. So you can see here that I'm just taking that end part with the 2 loops and the end, and I'm going to pull it through, and then I'm going to adjust the ribbon just a little bit, and then I'll pull it tight. This is the quickest way to get a double looped bow, and it looks beautiful. You would never know. I figured this out a couple years ago, so I thought I would share it today just in case you haven't tried this yet. It's a really fun technique to get a really pretty bow that's nice and full. And then all you gotta do is just fluff your bow out a little bit, kind of zhuzh it, play with it, and then cut it to the length that you want. So at this point, because this is the smaller one, I want the ribbons to be just a little bit smaller. And then of course, I can't resist, I'm gonna add a little wooden star to the top.
This cold December day, on this cold December day,
This project is a little bit more in the effort department, but it's only because there is one rope that we're going to uncoil, and it does take about 10 minutes to do it. But overall, this is a really easy project as well. I would recommend having someone help you uncoil the rope, because then it will make it go a lot quicker and you're not fighting with it trying to not back up on itself as you're trying to untwist this rope. So the reason why we're going to be untwisting it is because we want 2 different textures. We want the rope that is wrapped tightly, and then we want a rope that is just a straight strand. So once you've got it untwisted, you will have 3 sections, and we're only going to be using 2 of them today. So the third one we're going to put to the side for something else. Now for the next rope, the second one out of the 3 that we're going to be using, we're not going to untwist that. And then at this point, we're going to take one of the straight ones that is untwisted and the other nautical rope that is twisted, and we're going to take one of these foam wreath rings from the Dollar Tree. All of these supplies can be found at the Dollar Tree. And then we're going to just simply glue that down into place. Now at this point, we're going to take that rope and we're going to continue to wrap it around and around and around, keeping that same pattern where we want the straight one in between the wrapped rope. And This is the thing. I saw this wreath online. It was so extremely expensive, and I knew that we could do it for a fraction of the cost, which is what we're doing today. We're doing this wreath for about $6 versus the $100 that I saw online for. Now the trick with the rope, as you're wrapping it, at the halfway point, you're going to see that one of the twisted ropes is going to get you about halfway around the wreath form, and you're going to have to get out the next one and the second straight strand. But what you're going to do is you're going to continue to compress the inner circle rope so that stays nice and tight, and then the outer is a little bit looser, which is going to give you this beautiful pattern. Isn't this so cool? Now at the very end, you're going to have a little spot where you're still going to see that green foam. We don't want to see that, so that third rope, that's when it's going to come back into play, the one we untwisted, that extra one, and you're just going to wrap it around to conceal it. Now at this point, we're going to add in some greenery. I added 2 ferns, and I'm coming back in with some of this green garland pick that you can get from the Dollar Tree as well. And I'm just going to keep playing with it. I like to lift up my wreaths so I can see them in different views, because if it's just laying flat on the table, sometimes your garlands and your greenery, your flowers, all the things you're putting on it, it can come out a little flat. So I do like to lift it, kind of look at it from different angles. Now at this point, I'm adding in some of these frosted berries. I just think they're so beautiful with the green and the red, so traditional. I love those colors for Christmas. And I'm going to add a sweet gingham bow right in the middle. Now we can leave it there because this is so adorable, or we can take it a step further, which is what I always love doing. So with that extra third rope again, we are going to just tie a knot, slide over about 2 inches, and then tie another knot. Now the reason why we're doing this is I like to have a nice clean look. I don't want to distract from the rope at the top and all that work we just did. So I'm going to create a hook on the back side of the wreath using this extra piece of rope. So you can see that those 2 knots are going to keep the rope from untwining or twisting or fraying, whatever. And I'm going to just glue it down, and now I have this nice loop that's on there that can hook onto my wreath holder for my door. Now these bells are from the Dollar Tree as well. You get 9 in a pack. I'm going to be using about 5 of them. You can use as many as you want. And then I'm going to take some twine and I'm going to just thread it through, and I'm going to tie 3 knots so it's on there nice and secure. Cut off that extra piece I don't want, and then take a little bit of hot glue. Sorry, I was off screen for this part just a little bit. And then I'm going to just make sure that hot glue locks in those knots. And then I'm going to pick up my bells. Be careful because they will tangle. Tie them in a knot once I get them all in the position I want. And then I'm going to just simply glue them in place. You do not have to add the bells, but I think the bells are just so beautiful. And it just brings in that Christmas spirit when someone hears it as it jingles on the door. I just love the way it looks, and I love the way it sounds. So now I'm just simply gluing it in place, cutting off that extra piece that you don't want at the top, and then again, adding some more glue. I feel like the finishing touches is where sometimes people rush, and these last little bits is how you make it look high-end and that it came from a store. I hope you felt inspired by these 5 high-end, fast and easy projects today. I really had so much fun making them. I love the Christmas season. I love celebrating our dear Savior's birth. It was such a treat hanging out with all of you today in my craft room. Don't forget, I'm over on Instagram as well. And if you haven't already, please do click that subscribe button. I'd love for you to hang around and not miss the next video that comes. That will be Christmas. And until the next episode, bye friends.